Motoring 2012 on TSN is brought to you by Michelin, a better way forward.
This week we're at Mosport, not for racing, but to check out a car company that has plans of becoming the world's #1. No, we're not talking about GM, Toyota, or Ford. It is Volkswagen. And you know, as I stand here right now, Volkswagen, who wants to be #1, has a huge 3.3% market share in Canada, and it's yet to make a profit south of the border. But then I forget, it's not just Volkswagen that wants to be #1, it's the Volkswagen Group, which includes Audi and Bentley and Bugatti and Lamborghini, and the list goes on. One thing you can say about this company, though, it's headed in the right direction. Sales in Canada are up 21%, and this week we're going to drive a vehicle that really is the meat and potatoes of Volkswagen. Sales, are you ready for this? Are up 164%. The car is the Jetta, and this week we're driving its new sibling, the GLI.
Jetta in the Canadian market is really the cornerstone of our success. Just about every other car we sell is some sort of a Jetta. It shows itself to be extremely competitive in the marketplace. We're middle of the pack in the top 10 every month. And I think GLI just provides that extra boost and performance to the Jetta lineup that's always had it.
We've made the brakes a little bit bigger. We've made the handling a little bit firmer. We've lowered the suspension. We've taken the engine out of the GTI and put it in the GLI, and along with that we've gone with 2 transmissions, a 6-speed manual or a 6-speed double clutch DSG automatic. So the car all around is very sporty, very well equipped, and still offers you all the advantages of your normal Jetta. A large trunk, large rear seating area, and excellent fuel economy.
Well, we had a little friendly competition between the journalists, and we had Richard Spinard as co-pilot and co-driver. We each took a lap, and man, that guy he's unbelievable on the track, and it's incredible really that for a street vehicle, these GLIs are dealing with being flogged around the track. You know, the brakes aren't suffering, the grip is phenomenal. It's very surprising.
I think they've done a good job for the most part. The new rear suspension, being a true multi-link and fully independent, makes a big difference to the overall way the car feels and it rides. The 2-litre turbocharged engine, lots of power in the mid-range and at the top end, but off the line I noticed quite a lot of turbo lag, which I didn't care for. Now, whether they do that deliberately or not is a question yet to be answered. If they gave you full boost right off the line, they'd have torque steer issues, so I think it's something that's managed.
If you aren't expecting massive power off the line, it works actually pretty well. My preference is the manual transmission, but I have to admit, especially in the track setting we have here today, DSG works amazing.
As General Motors and Toyota have discovered over the past few years with some humility, being #1 in the world is not always what it's cut out to be. Yet that's the goal of Volkswagen.
While it might appear on paper to be a lofty goal, I think it's very realistic with a product lineup, with the dedication and devotion to the products that we bring to market. And I think the timeline is very manageable and gives us a good opportunity to keep our DNA and work towards a goal.
Well, they're certainly launching a product offensive, and they've certainly also got an ace in the hole as far as China is concerned. They're a major player in China. It's one of the world's largest markets. As far as conquering North America, I think that might be a bit more difficult. There's a lot of entrenched players, and it's not a market with big turnover.
I'm driving the GLI, which is really all but fully loaded with leather, sunroof, navigation, etc. It's about $33,000, and it also has the automatic. And when you're driving a car with a sports flavor, that's always the big conundrum. Do I go manual or do I go automatic? Well, Volkswagen predicts that 30 to 40% of the buyers will choose the manual. But remember, if you do go the automatic, it's a $1,400 option.
The other thing that really impressed me is the manner in which they've cleaned up the interior. One of the criticisms when the Jetta was first launched was that the interior didn't match the rest of the car. Now you understand, because it starts in the mid-teens for the base car, right? So you can't have a swanky interior. This thing, on the other hand, is $28,000+. The one we're driving is over $33,000. At last, it's got the interior it should have had from day one.
Well, this particular version, they're kind of aiming for the stratosphere, I think, price-wise. The competition set that they're mentioning for this, WRX, Lancer Evo, I'm not thinking that this is going to be on the same radar for buyers as those cars. However, Civic Si, yeah, I can see that. However, I don't think there's really a lot of Civic Si sold, so this is going to be a niche player at best, I think.
Fills out the Jetta line. You've got a Jetta that starts under $16,000, and you've got a Jetta GLI that's as capable on the racetrack as it is going to the hockey rink or to the Loblaws.
Where's the fire, buddy? More later on Kenzie's Corner.
Over the years, hybrids have not exactly been the most popular purchase. However, that could all change. On this edition of Test Drive, the Infiniti M35h. According to Dennis DeRosier, Canada's foremost automotive prognosticator, Canadians purchased 18 million vehicles over the past 11 years. Of that number, just 58,000 were hybrids. The conclusion is clear. There are many people who talk the talk, but few follow through when it's time to put up the cash. However, all of that could change. The reason is a new breed of hybrid that has one thing going for it. There is no compromise. This Infiniti M35h is one of a string of new cars that's embracing a brand new philosophy. Use a regular automatic transmission instead of a CVT. This strategy not only does away with that really annoying motorboating effect where the engine is pegged at redline whenever you call for hard acceleration, it actually allows the electric side to operate at highway speeds. This Infiniti, it's quite happy purring along at 100k on electric power alone. By that speed, well, those CVT-based units, the electric side's been in bed for a long time. Infiniti's direct response hybrid system employs the 3.5-litre V6 engine, a 7-speed manumatic transmission and an electric motor that's sandwiched between the two. In this case, the engine produces 302 horsepower and 258 pound-feet of torque, while the electric motor supplies another 67 horsepower and, more importantly, 199 pound-feet of torque. The net result is a system output of 360 horsepower. The final piece of the hybrid pie is found in the main 1.4 kilowatt-hour lithium-ion battery that's housed in the trunk and recharged through regenerative braking. The ability for this car to run on electric power at highway speeds as well as when prowling suburbia is what explains the tremendous fuel economy numbers. But that only tells a part of the story. The other half, this car, I've actually driven 23% of the mileage total so far on electric power alone. Now that tells the economy story. On the flip side, there's the performance story. This thing, it'll run to 100k in 5.5 seconds, and it does the 80 to 120 passing move in under 4 seconds. Now that is world class, hybrid or otherwise. The secret to the M35h's proficiency boils down to a pair of clutches. The first separates the engine from the electric motor, the second sits between the motor and the transmission. Depending upon how the clutches are opened and or closed, the setup allows the electric motor to drive the car, the motor and engine to work together, or the engine to power the vehicle alone. It also allows the electric motor to start the engine and be used to capture otherwise waste energy through regenerative braking. It sounds complicated, but when compared to the CVT-based hybrids, the methodology is simpler and, in the end, more effective. When you get to the cabin of this Infiniti M35h, you'll find a balanced blend of luxury and the latest technology. On the luxury side, 10-way power seats that are both heated and cooled. Then there's this really nice Japanese ash that's actually been rubbed with real silver. It gives it a very different look. Audio system, very good indeed. 14 speakers, 4 of which are housed in the seat backs, and of course there's a full-on navigation system. As for the tech side, well, this thing counts adaptive cruise control, adaptive front headlights, you've got blind spot monitoring and lane departure warning. It all comes together very nicely indeed.
There is a dial on the center console that allows the driver to select economy, standard and sport driving modes, along with another designed to minimize wheel spin in snowy weather. For the most part, the standard mode is the right choice. The economy mode blunts the performance edge too much, while the sport mode places too much emphasis on outright performance and at the expense of economy. As for the rest of it, well, the hybrid handles just like its regular sibling. In fact, only the spongy brake pedal gives the game away.
This M35H delivers on all fronts. It's got luxury, excellent fuel economy and superior performance. In other words, the best of all worlds, and that explains why hybrid sales, well, they should start to blossom.
Cyclists make a lot of people unhappy, including me, but they have come up with one good idea. I'm Ted Laturnis, and I'll tell you what that is on motoringtv.com.
Well, this is an interesting car culture. LA sells all these high-end cars that do not show up at the Detroit Auto Show. For example, Aston Martin, Rolls-Royce, Bentley. Those are things you do not see at the Detroit Auto Show. There might be a dealer that may have one vehicle of each, but you can't get near them because they're not the manufacturer. So the manufacturers of those high-end type cars tend to base themselves on the coasts, as they say. New York and LA, you'll see manufacturers of that. You don't see them at any other shows.
Unlike some of its competitors, the new Passat GLI does not come with all-wheel drive. However, it does come loaded with active safety features like electronic stability control and traction control. But unlike its cousin, the Golf GTI, you cannot turn the system off.
Now the problem with that is, in good old Canada, we get snow. If both wheels are in snow, both front brakes get applied, they shut the throttle, and guess where you're going? Nowhere. Now they say the system is smart enough to recognize that set of conditions and give you some wheel spin, so hopefully you can get the car rocking and away you go. Give me the option of saying, no thank you, I don't want traction control, or yes please, give me traction control. Relying on a computer to do it at the right time, at the right place, I think they're begging for trouble.
Okay, now let's join Bill Gardner with his tip of the week.
Our motoring tip concerns your check engine light. In the infancy of electronic engine controls, in other words, mid-80s to mid-90s, we had an early version of onboard diagnostics, a system that was helpful to mechanics, but certainly needed some work. 96 and newer cars, we have a system called OBD2, or Onboard Diagnostics version 2. Very helpful to motorists, very helpful to technicians. We went to some common plugs where test equipment intersects the car the same on every make and model of car, with a few exceptions of some European cars. The check engine light has two modes. It could be on steady, which is flagging a problem, but not cause for immediate alarm. However, you should get your car scheduled for service and find out why the light is coming on, because you could improve fuel economy and emissions by doing so. The second mode is a flashing or pulsing check engine light. That denotes an active engine misfire. The engine's going to be chugging and jerking, very rough at idle, down on power. You've got an obvious problem just by the drivability of the engine. Don't ignore a flashing check engine light. You're going to damage the catalytic converter if you let it go unchecked, and that will get really costly, in addition to what brought the engine light on in the first place. So don't ignore it. Get it fixed. You'll improve the drivability of your car. Till next week, that's your motoring tip of the week.
We're here for the launch of the 7th generation of the Toyota Camry, and in its 30-year history they've sold over 15 million units in over 100 countries. And just as impressive is the fact that they've maintained the title of best-selling passenger vehicle for 13 of the last 14 years in North America. But not everything is peachy. With the success of both Hyundai and Kia, particularly in the mid-size sedan segment, things have really been tough for Toyota. Their sales were down for the Camry by almost 40% in the first half of the year, and although production is back up to par, things have been struggling. So just how excited is Toyota about this new launch?
We're really excited. This is probably one of our biggest launches yet. The mid-size sedan segment in Canada can definitely grow, and Canadians are looking for something that's really fuel efficient, safe, and good value for their hard-earned dollars.
So it is the quintessential North American car, and in many respects it represents for North American drivers what Toyota's all about. So when it came time for us to introduce the 7th generation, we knew we had to raise the benchmark, and that's what today's all about.
So we're here to showcase the new 2012 Camry. It's an all-new refreshed model. We have the V6 SE, the V6 XLE, the LE, and some 4-cylinder models as well as the hybrids to showcase. We've always been the benchmark family sedan, so we're trying to raise the bar once again in areas such as noise, vibration, and harshness, so we're top in class there. The fuel efficiency is really top of mind for mid-size sedan consumers these days. So we try to take the Camry and take it to a whole new level and add best-in-class fuel efficiency for every single engine that we offer.
Outside, the exterior is a lot different. It's a lot more aggressive stance. And the inside has changed a lot too. And I think overall they've improved everything just a little bit throughout the car.
Now, with the new offerings that they have, particularly the trappings that come with the SE V6 model, I mean, you can drive that car around like we just did in Shannonville here and burn the baloney right off that car. You can just smoke the tires all around the track, and that's not something that you would ever have historically anticipated from a Camry.
With radical new designs being injected into the segment, the 2012 Camry could be described by a few as being, well, subdued, as it's evolutionary, not revolutionary. So exactly what does distinguish this grandfather from its younger competition?
Top safety in the class, best fuel economy in 4-cylinder, 6-cylinder, or in hybrid, excellent noise, vibration, and harshness numbers, technology in the vehicle that's second to none, particularly in those areas of passenger amenity like the audio technology with text-to-speech and the ability to read emails and do all sorts of other things that were just a dream before. This car brings it all together, and then after having set those new benchmarks, we lowered the price. Across the board, 4 out of our 5 models come in under $30,000, and we start at just over $23,000, which is just an incredible price point for a Camry. So that's our most popular selling Camry in Canada, is just over $23,000.
That's going to be the big question, because the competition has raised itself for the Sonata and cars like that, and so they've obviously already seen those cars when this one was in development, so I think it'll hold its own against the competition.
So many new vehicles, so little time to choose. But we here on Motoring will make the time to select the best in class as our Car of the Year special is quickly approaching. The Detroit Auto Show, the granddaddy of all shows, will be the backdrop as we pick our top vehicles in each model category, and then we'll present the overall winner as Motoring's Car of the Year for 2012. Don't miss it.
Closed captioning of Motoring 2012 is brought to you by
Greener, fuel efficient, global. This is Chevrolet Now, driving our world forward.
I was a bit late getting to the show today because, guess what? There was a crash on the highway. Now, I saw the fire engine coming onto the highway at the next interchange, and I thought, man, that's not going to be good. Well, it wasn't too bad. It was a 2-car rear-ender, a CUV had hit a pickup truck. But it's interesting to note that the fire engine was parked at an angle protecting the 2 cars, not only to keep the occupants of the 2 vehicles from getting hurt, but also to protect the police officers that were investigating the crash. Now, I was speaking with a fireman the other day, and he said this is now a big part of their job. They're not rescuing kittens out of trees or hosing down burning houses. They're out there stopping fires from car crashes, or at least cleaning up the fuel spill after the fact. Now, I brought up 2 points that I want to remind you of. I've talked about them on the show before, but they're both critical. If your car is disabled, whether you're in a crash, a flat tire, or run out of gas, pull as far off the road as you can and get out of the vehicle. Don't stand behind your car and get smacked by somebody. When you're standing behind the guardrail, you'll notice how much energy is in the vehicles as they go by you at 100+ kilometers an hour. You don't want to mess with that. And the second thing is, respect the poor police officers that are investigating the crash. Now, the last time I got a speeding ticket, it was many years ago, the police officer actually stuck his head in the passenger side window. I asked him about that, and he said, we lose a cop every year because they're talking to people on the highway in the driver's window. It's just too dangerous. Most jurisdictions in Canada oblige you to pull into the center lane, to leave that lane clear if there's an emergency vehicle with its lights flashing on the right-hand side. So if your car is disabled for any reason, remember two things: protect yourself and protect the people that are trying to help out your fellow drivers. I'm Jim Kenzie.
The Volkswagen Group plans on being the world's #1 car maker by 2018. And they've already reached that pinnacle in Europe, but here in North America, they've got a lot of work to do. And if they're going to get there, they're going to have to do it on the back of the already successful Jetta. Well, now we have the new GLI. And this car is, yes, cheaper than its predecessor, but remember, once you start adding in options like navigation, the automatic, sunroof, leather, etc., that price can creep up pretty quickly. On the road, well, it does have some turbo lag from a dead stop, but once you're out there at cruising speed, lots of power, and it really sticks to the road. And this car, believe me, has a lot of the Golf GTI DNA in it. As for design, well, they didn't exactly push the envelope, but then how many German car companies do? But I'll tell you one thing, what I love most about this new car, when you're driving it, there is no doubt in your mind you are driving a German sports sedan. And for most people, that's all that matters. Before we go, make sure you check us out at motoringtv.com. You may have missed an episode or want to go back, way back into those archives. And make sure you join Facebook for the total motoring experience. That's it for now. We'll see you next time out as we continue to bring you more stories about cars and the people who drive them.
Quite often, you get people almost surprised, saying, this is a Kia, I can't believe this is a Kia. Not only on styling, but when you get people inside the car, you get to see the type of features that they've started to put into the cars at a certain price level. It's shocking people right now, and I think it's changing how they perceive the brand.
Motoring 2012 on TSN has been brought to you by Michelin, a better way forward.